It's embarrassment to even call her a firefighter. When was asked, if you have to go inside that house and pull out my husband, you don't look like you're fit for fire. And she replies back, it's not my responsibility. He should have gotten out of there. That is a huge slap in the face and an embarrassment to the fire service.
Hey everyone, welcome to another Sit Down with Michael Franzese. Hope everybody is doing well. Everything is very good, very blessed on this end. As always, my friends, I give all the praise, honor, glory, and thanksgiving to our God for that. Well, this is now, I believe, day 5 or day 6 for the California fires. They're still raging in LA County. So much damage has been done. You're all familiar with it. It's in the news every day, and it's just terrible. Tragic, terrible. 24 lives already lost. We have a number that are missing. I think over 200,000 families have been displaced and 11,000 or so homes and structures have been totally devastated, burnt to the ground. Horrible. The worst fire, from what I understand, in LA's history, most costly and most damaging in terms of loss of lives also. So horrible. Yesterday, out of the blue, somebody reached out to me who used to be a firefighter in LA, very familiar with what was going on. He says, Michael, I have information to share. The people need to know what's really going on here. They need to know the truth. I believe, this is an unbiased accounting of what's going on. He knows, he was there, he's been there.
All right, my friends, real quick, I've got something very exciting to share with all of you. I've recently partnered with MyHeritage, which is the #1 family history service in the entire world. It will help you unlock your past in a way that could seriously, and I mean seriously, impact your life. Just think about it. Your roots, your family story, all those untold connections just waiting to be discovered by you. MyHeritage makes it easy and really fun to dive into your heritage with, listen to this, over 20 billion historical records. That's 20 billion. And an incredible 90 million users worldwide already who are exploring their own stories. And the best part, even if you don't know where to start, MyHeritage does the heavy lifting for you. It does all the work. Their powerful tools will sift through all those records, dozens and dozens, maybe hundreds of them. They connect all the dots and they help you uncover your family tree really effortlessly. It's like a treasure hunt for your true identity. And you know what really blew my mind? While building my own family tree, I learned that my father, who I already knew was one of 19 children, all from the same mom and dad, was actually one of 21 children. That 2 of his siblings had died in Italy, where my grandparents originally immigrated from. I had to do a double take when I saw that record. 21 kids. And then 19 living under one roof in Brooklyn, where I was born and raised. That's not just a family. That's basically a small village. I always say, God bless my grandparents. And many of my dad's siblings came to America at different times. A good example? My Aunt Philomena Franzese. My aunt, as records show, emigrated to the United States in 1903 from Naples. My dad got here as an infant in 1917, the same year he was born. It was absolutely amazing to see just how many public records automatically display information, and that the more that you add to your tree, the more information you see. And look at this tool from MyHeritage. And here's the kicker. You can try it out with a 14-day free trial, no strings attached. So what are you waiting for? Hit the link in the description or scan the QR code on the screen and start building your family tree today. And people, trust me, understanding where you come from, it's really priceless.
Also, I have my future son-in-law's brother is a firefighter in Napa Valley. And he's high up there in the ranks. And, you know, it was unbelievable what he told me. I spent the weekend with him about a weekend ago, and he told me of all the services that the firefighters perform for the communities. Even in Napa Valley, which is not a heavily populated area, he gets 35, 40, 50 calls a week. You know, whether he's saving somebody's cat or dog, or God forbid there's a health situation, or, you know, anything that can go wrong, the firefighters are the first responders. They're the ones that are called out immediately. Ambulances, everything else. They have a tremendous job, a tremendous service to the community. They're vitally important. And the thought of services in that area being cut to put another service in play that we really don't need, and I'm not going to get into it. I don't want to get into the politics of this at the moment. We're here what Albert has to say, but I don't think you're going to be happy with it. I don't know what he has to say, but we're going to find out. Like I said, I've never met him, but I want to keep you up to date on what's going on with these fires, people. You need to know. And one thing is for sure, without a doubt, the state, the city, they were not prepared to handle this fire. Absolutely not. There was negligence on their part as far as I'm concerned. It was criminally negligent. That's my opinion of it, but who am I? I'm just somebody giving an opinion, seeing what was going on. So with no further delay, let's bring Albert on. Let's see what he has to say. Albert, you're up.
Albert, how you doing? Just to give some context to my viewers, you and I have never met. We communicated briefly yesterday when you reached out to me because you had some insight into what could be going on with these tragic fires that have been occurring for the past several days here in Los Angeles. I've done a few videos about it. I'm pretty much up to date on it. I want to be informative to my viewers out there, and obviously any insight you can give, we would greatly appreciate. I certainly would, and I'm sure my viewers would like to know also. I have some things to say, but I'd love to hear you out. Let me say this, just briefly before this, we were talking about the insurance companies. I'm certainly not blaming the insurance companies. I understand what insurance companies do. They have to protect themselves. I get that. What was concerning me on this is the fact that the insurance companies knew something, and I believe that they knew that the administration wasn't prepared to deal with these fires properly. And so in order to protect themselves and not have to pay, ridiculous claims, they pulled out. And what I believe to know even further, and I want you to expand upon this, is that they actually went, to the state officials and said, hey, we need some help here. And not only did I not get that help with cleaning up maybe brush or whatever they needed to do, but there were so many regulations that they had to abide by and so many hoops that they had to jump through, which is typical California. We're the most regulated state in the country, that the insurance company said, hey, if you don't want to help us out, we're just going to pull out. And so unfortunately, they pulled out, and all of these people got hurt. So please expand on that. Tell me if I'm right or wrong, if I'm on track. And first, before you do that, just give us your background so the viewers have some context as to who you are and where your expertise and knowledge comes from.
Everyone, just briefly, if you're a viewer of mine, a follower of mine, if you've been impacted anyway by the fires in LA, we want to help you. I want you to go right now to michaelfranzese.com/fire and register. Tell us what you need, what we can do to help you. We'll get back to you. We'll reach out, and whatever we can do to help you, whether it be supplies, maybe moving you to a location, anything that we can do, we're committed to help you. So please, michaelfranzese.com/fire, register, tell us what you need. We'll be back to you, and we're here to help.
Okay. My name's Albert Salerno. Went through the Fire Academy back in 1996, had to deal with all the affirmative action events that were going on. I got on with 29 Palms Fire Department, worked for them, and then I got on with my dream department, which was CDF Cal Fire. During that time, I went through the ranks of firefighter, paramedic, went to the company officer academy, graduated engineer, paramedic. And based off of my observations, what you said, it's harmony. There's a history of California burning, and you have a lot of policies, a lot of regulations where they don't want us to go and do prescribed burns. Simple things that we have to mitigate and get, remove some of the fuel load out of the areas. If I take some of this brush out, clean up the ground litter, put in the California Conservation Corps, put in our fire hand crews in there, start fuel reduction programs, you're not going to have these huge conflagrations where we keep losing and losing homes, but yet you're wanting firemen to go out and do their jobs, but you're handcuffing me by not giving us the water, the money, the resources.
Well, it was very telling that the Mayor Bass, in defense of her not being prepared, she said that the $17 million that she cut from the firefighters in Los Angeles didn't impact their readiness or preparedness to fight these fires in any way, shape, or form. What do you have to say about that?
Oh, absolutely lies. They also not only took 17.6, they took an additional $7 million away in additional training to prepare for these incidences that already came to pass.
Yeah, and you know what I want people to understand is because my future son-in-law, his brother is a firefighter in Napa Valley, and I got a little bit of an education from him, not much, but you know, firefighters are first responders, and obviously, yes, their job is to go in and fight the fires and help the people, but they're also human beings also, and they have to have the proper training, and they're not just throwing their lives away. They need to be well prepared, well trained, and obviously that costs money. So I want people to understand I have great respect for our firefighters, for our first responders, for our police officers in that regard. But they also have families and they also have lives to worry about. So preparing them, training them, giving them the tools that they need is of the utmost importance. And, you know, there's nothing more important for our officials in government, whether they be local, state, or federal, than protecting the people, all of the people. And that goes for firefighters also. So when they cut the budget like that, they're actually putting your lives at risk also.
Oh, absolutely 110% true. You look at the gross mismanagement here in California. The top five economic, our strength is unreal, our income. But yet, you look at the 20 million that was taken and given to homeless. If you do the math, excuse me, that was, I want to say 26 billion, if I'm not mistaken, where it comes out to $160,000 given to the homeless. But yet, we need hose, chainsaws, manpower, gasoline, none of this EV bullcrap or electric chainsaws, which they're trying to push in. These agendas that they keep pushing, whether you want to call it affirmative action or DIE, you're handicapping us. There was one young LA, it's embarrassment to even call her a firefighter, who said, when was asked, if you have to go inside that house and pull out my husband, you don't look like you're fit for fire. And she replies back, it's not my responsibility. He should have gotten out of there. That is a huge slap in the face and an embarrassment to the fire service.
That was despicable to make a remark like that. It's let me ask you a question in furtherance of that. As a firefighter, you know, we got to get into the DEI issue, and I hate to do it because people come back, well, you're so against DEI. Well, maybe I am against DEI when lives are at stake and when the proper people aren't put in place to do the job that's necessary to do. And some of the statements I've heard yesterday where one DEI person, firefighter, said, hey, it's important that the people we're going to save realize that we look like them, that we're the same color, that we're the same sexual preference. I've never heard something so ridiculous in my life.
So ridiculous. We want firefighters that can go in there, that are 6'3", 6'4", and can carry somebody on their backs to bring them out to safety. I don't care if he's black, red, Chinese, American, Italian. I don't care what he is. And I think most people, most logical people, think the same way. So my question is, as a firefighter, aren't you resentful, bothered, maybe nervous about the fact that your fellow firefighter was put there because they were a DEI person and may not have the skills and the qualifications to do the job the way you would be able to do it, sir? How do you feel about that?
I agree with you. Yes, I don't care if you're white, black, female, Hispanic, gender orientation. I'm paying you for your back. I'm not paying you for your mouth. I need you to go in there and get things done. It seems when you bring in these affirmative action and DIE folks, they're here just for the money. They, look at my badge. Look at me, like that female we were talking about, obese and claiming or being a firefighter. The issues are I have worked with some phenomenal fire chiefs, and they are chiefs now that we were firefighters together. I have learned definitely tons from them. Uh, Again, these are people like you and I were. I'm 6'2", 209 pounds, coming up on the age of 53. I can still do the job. I have limitations, but it is what it is. But when you don't have these people that are going in, I want to see that firefighter's PT log, physical training log. I want to know how long she's on the elliptical, because Lord knows my tax bases go for her salary. She's paid, just like all of us, to go work out mandatory 1 hour a day on duty, if not more. These folks.
Albert, were you affected during your time in service? Were you affected by the DEI? Had that initiative started in the firefighters at that point while you were there?
No, I was on the latter. I was on the affirmative action. Where are you familiar with that aspect? It's almost identical. They just change the name and then re-engineer it and pump it on us.
Exactly. I understand that also. And it's basically hiring people because of their race, their sexual preference. I have to say that, and not because their ability to do the job. And that's what it comes down to. And that's
Yes,
that's why people are so against it, you know, especially in a position like this. It's one thing, which I think is wrong, to have DEI initiatives in office jobs where people are sitting down and they're doing their office work. I don't think it's right because I think you need the best people qualified to do the job, regardless of race, religion, or anything else. But it's another issue altogether when you're putting people in a position where they're not physically capable of doing a job that's so important that involves saving people's lives. That's a whole different matter. And, you know, we're not making things up here. The spokesman for the fire department said that they spent a ton of money on DEI initiatives, that it was almost the number one, initiative that they have, among the firefighters here in LA. And I think that's it's just horrible. It's absolutely horrible.
again, it is going back to Karen Bass, and I cannot throw LA County Fire Chief under the bus. Her hands are tied. No, her hands are handcuffed. I won't even say tied. You're asking for her to pull a rabbit out of the hat. You look at from the time they issued the evacuation orders, you saw all the immense cars that were in Pacific Palisades. These people are trying to get out. We saw the bulldozer go in and have to move the vehicles. I will share with you, I've only seen that a couple of times in my fire career, and that's where cars were parked up against fire break roads that needed to be moved. The impact, the mentation of these firefighters is not the same when I came up in 97. We were competing against a lot of these people that were coming back. All right, let me rephrase that. We were being trained by people that were in Vietnam, people that were Marines, Army. They had passion. They loved firefighting. I love being a fireman. There's nothing better than being out doing our job. But now, again, you have an anchor tied to you. This person can't pull their own weight. But yet, this inclusion part, I have to suck it up. I'm 6'2", 209 pounds. Now I have to carry extra weight, extra hose, water, extra batteries for our communication, fuel for the chainsaws. Again, I'm human. I'm not superhuman.
You know, Albert, this is almost, to me, it's like criminally negligent because when you put people in a position to do a job that you know that they're really not qualified, physically qualified, it's nothing they can do about it. It's just they're not made up that way. They're not physically qualified to do a job that's so important because you're talking about saving people's lives. It's just, it's criminally negligent to me. I would almost have to put it in that category that we would allow this, that the governor of our state would allow this, that the mayor of the city of LA would allow this, realizing that every single year, firefighters are out there fighting fires. This is not new. This is an annual occurrence in California. It's going to happen. You could set your clock by it almost 100%. So for them to be unprepared, for them to put DEIE initiative firefighters' job, it's just horrible. It's absolutely horrible. And, I have to say this too. I'm getting it all out. You can respond to it. But, obviously now, because Bass is African American, now they're starting to make the claims that because she's African American, they're coming at her stronger. And my answer, well,
No, it has
when they
nothing to do
elected
with it.
her,
She just
yeah,
needs to put, you need
the
to put
fact
the
that she was
calorie biscuits
incompetent.
down.
Yeah, a fact that she was incompetent, the fact that she promised never to fly internationally while she was mayor and has broken her promise and did it 6 times, the fact that I found this out yesterday, that early in this month, the National Weather Forecast, they predicted that we were going to have heavy winds and that there could be problems with fires, and she was alerted to this, and she left the country anyway. She did it anyway. So
Yes.
putting all of that aside, it has nothing to do with her race. It has to do with her incompetence, period. And that's the bottom line. And that's what we're seeing now. And, it's a shame that they
Affliction
were
of
put.
beauty.
Yeah, and I also want, there were some people that rightfully so, they don't know who to lash out to, but they were saying, where are the firefighters? Where are the firefighters? Well, the firefighters didn't have the tools, didn't have the water, didn't have what was necessary to fight that fire. Bottom line.
Correct. One thing I will share, Cal Fire, when we get these meteorological forecasts saying, hey, the winds are coming, it's just like clockwork. People from up north, Magalia, all the other parts of California, Shasta, Butte, they come down here into Southern California. These are our seasonals. These are our permanent full-time employees. We're primed. We're ready. This is what we do. Even if you look at the lack of water that was going on, you shut down the power, the traffic lights are going to blink red. Everybody wants to take a turn. The fire is coming. These people are scared. They have to get out of their car and seek refuge from somewhere else. Going over the other issues that are up there. Water containers are up on top of a hill. In the event we'd lose power, they'll still be gravity fed. But
Right.
at some point in time, you got to flip the power back on to have those tanks refilled. The wind that was going on totally handicapped our fire department by bringing in our DC-10 and helicopters and everything else. Throwing water, I'm sorry, it doesn't hit it. We have to get very low. We got to get in there and make the drops. But when it is too windy and erratic, it's not safety. You're looking at risk versus gain.
Yeah, and these winds, we have to admit that. I mean, they were 100 mile an hour hurricane, force winds. So it was very, very tough. And I do understand that. And I think people do understand that. But it's no excuse for the firefighters, when it was safe for them to go in and fight the fire, that they that the city was unprepared, didn't give you the tools.
Correct. I mean, if they don't want to pay to have the firemen go in there and do the fuel reduction in the off fire seasons, I sent in to you guys where goats can go in there. They don't care about the terrain. I don't have to worry about somebody hitting themselves with a chainsaw going, and I don't have to worry about smoke. I'm not worrying about ash. You're going to have a lot of goat pellets on the floor, but we have to come to a common ground. You don't handicap us by going in there and raking out and removing the brush. It's all about fuel load. And having these dense forests, the dead logs, the fuel, it is a deceptively light, you're begging for it. You're asking Mother Nature to belt you one over the bottom of the butt. And that's what she's been doing. The insurance companies say these departments, these areas are too much of a high risk. Sorry, we're gonna, just like a drunk driver, somebody who keeps driving drunk, hitting cars, and then hitting people. At some point in time, we're gonna pull your driver's license. I got rid of the problem. fuel load. Let's get rid of it. Let's reduce it. And these huge campaign fires that go on for days, I promise you, there are days that I didn't come home for 21, 22 days fighting fires up and down the state of California.
Oh, I know that. Like I said, my future son-in-law, I just had the opportunity to talk to his brother, who is not a fire chief, but he's high in command in Napa Valley. And he was educating me. It's not only fires that you gentlemen fought, but he said he has in Napa Valley, he has 30 to 40 to 50 calls a week. Everything from health-related calls to saving a dog or cat or anything going on. So, firefighters are busy all week, not only fighting fires, but let me ask you this too. There was a video recently released where Donald Trump was with Newsom, I think it was in 2019, and he was telling them, and Donald's a builder, he knows this stuff, you got to get rid of the brush. This is important. You got to get rid of the brush. He also said you got to let the water come downstream so that LA has a proper supply of water. And apparently Newsom just ignored him. Not only did he ignore him, but from what I heard, he cut $100 million off of the firefighters' budget statewide. And yet
Yes.
they want to complain that, people are picking on them now. They're falsely accusing them of something wrong. But the evidence is there, Albert. It's there. How important is it to clean this brush?
Oh, very, very. And we're talking dollars and cents really quick. The state of California, we used to have 40 inmate fire camps where we would have anywhere between 2 to 7 crews. And on these crews, there's approximately 15 to 17 inmates that were with the CDC. These guys are there for as long as their sentence is. They do get a couple of perks. That's time and a half served. They do get $1.10 a day. And these are some of the hardest working men I have ever been around in my life. They never complained. When one of the guys would wimp out or puss out, there was 16 other inmates beating on another one because they had to hike back down the mountain.
Well,
Now,
Albert, let me add to that a little bit. I'm very familiar with that because some of my inmate friends at the time were on the fire crews. I tried to get on, but they wouldn't give me that privilege. But those guys were gung ho. I mean, they loved what they were doing, and I think they probably did a great job.
they were monsters. They loved it. They couldn't get enough. Okay. But now you look at how many are open, these fire camps, very, very few. Okay. But Gavin Newsom, in his infinite wisdom, has gone and hired kids, 18, 22. What's the minimum wage now? Let's just say these guys are getting 15 to 22 bucks an hour. By the way, we're paying for their health. We're paying for their retirement. We're paying for their overtime. When you had these inmates, these weren't perks for them. So you could see where waste of money is going on. We had the rehabilitation program. Hey, when we're not in fire season, we were training. When these guys weren't training, they were in PIA, which we call prison industry assemblies, where they were making our clothes, our firefighter gear. We were giving these people an opportunity to learn, grow, progress, pick up a trade, become an arborist, a seamstress. I can go and rattle on all the different programs that we had back in the day. But
No, you're
we're told that
absolutely right.
those were too cost ineffective.
You know what? You're absolutely right. And, they talk about prison reform. One way to prison reform is to give inmates purpose, to train them, not only put them in there and lock them up, but to train them so that when they get out of prison, they have something to look forward to. They have a trade. And what better, way to train them than helping the community, in the manner of helping firefighters. But, I'm telling you, this state, they get nothing right. They get nothing right.
Yeah. And I promise you, I'm looking you in the eye. These guys that are on the hand crews are no different than you and me. The only thing is they got caught. Everything from, many violations on vehicles, drunk driving, check cashing fraud. I've heard a lot of good stories on how these guys were making some good money, but at the end of the day, they paid their debt. They're no different than you and me.
No, believe me, I know that. I spent a lot of time with many of them. Everybody thinks people go to prison, they're really bad people. They're not bad people. They've made mistakes for whatever reason they have. Not all of them, I'm not throwing a blanket over everybody, but there's a lot of good people in prison that just made bad mistakes, and they got to pay the price and hopefully come out better for it. But the way to do that is to give them purpose, give them training, give them something to look forward to so they don't wreak havoc on the community again. I stood in front of a congressional staff and some Congress people on one of the anniversaries from 9/11, and they talked about prison reform. And I said to them, look, if you really care about your constituents, you don't just throw a person in prison, have them surrounded by people that committed crimes the same way they did. They're not going to learn anything new by that. You have to give them programs and give them a purpose so that when they come home, they're not going to wreak havoc in the community again. It's just common sense. But they couldn't grasp it because they think that's being soft on crime. Meanwhile, they're so soft on crime outside where people are still out there and wreaking havoc. It makes no sense. Everything that this state does, we got to get rid of the leadership here. Albert, it all comes down to good leadership. Republican, Democrat, Independent, it doesn't matter. It's the same as putting people in as firefighters. You have to have the right people that are qualified to do the job and have integrity about them and honesty and passion and care about what they're doing. And that's the goal here in California. Unfortunately, we had to have such a tragic situation like this occur before people really see what's going on. And, I'm glad you were able to add. If you have anything else to add to this, please do, because I want to educate the people out there, and they're very interested in this.
Well, there's a lot of impact from the illegals that are coming here. The call volume for traffic accidents, uninsured motorists, and then, of course, these individuals that make it across, they're getting more money than they should for free food, which is coming out to about $1,500 to $2,000 a month. They're getting $800 housing assistance. I don't know about you, but I don't get free health care. But they do. Okay? As soon as they're over the age of 50 or 51 coming over here, now let's go and take our kids to the emergency room and tell me, how long are people waiting?
Yeah,
but then
we've experienced that.
Where I'm going with this is, who's paying for all of this? You and me. These are our hard-earned tax dollars.
And I think your point is too. It's not only that we know how much money on the federal, state, local levels that they waste our taxpayer money. That's a whole nother issue. But I think the more important issue here is that they're taking away from the money from vital services such as the fire departments that we need to protect the communities. And it's obvious here what happened. The mayor said it, the governor said it. They spent all this money on homelessness, billions, and the homelessness has just gone up. They've done nothing. They haven't even put a dent in it. And meanwhile, the firefighters are suffering and people lose their houses. And crime is on the streets, and they've even, cut the police budget. So the money for the illegal immigrants is taking away from vital services that the community needs. And I know that's your point, and it's something's got to be done.
We need to take off the blinders, look around for our situational awareness, and hold those people that are making these decisions accountable. And for me to sit here and tell you this is gross mismanagement, I want to use other words, but gross incompetence, he's not a businessman. That's what it comes down to. Just like the insurance, they're in there to make money. We're here to also make money as a career fire, police, nurse, physician. But when you start taking the coffers and money away and leaving us exposed, this is what you get.
Well, listen, the bottom line here is people need to understand this is not on the fault of the firefighters here, that this has gone out of control. It's total incompetence on the state and federal, not the state, I'm sorry, the state government and the city of LA. They totally botched this thing, and unfortunately it turned into a tragic situation. And I think people are aware of it now, and hopefully they'll get on top of it, and there'll be some dramatic changes. We need them. And you can't even blame, it's like you said, we can't even blame the insurance companies. They're in business, and they're in business to make money, and they make their money by taking premiums to protect people when they need it, but they're also not going to make their risk unrealistic for them. So they tried to get the state to go along with them and clean up the brush and lower the risk. And when you lower the risk, it's for everybody's benefit, because that means less damage is going to happen, both for the person involved and for the insurance companies. The state didn't do that. They were negligent. They were incompetent. And as a result, we see what happens. So, Albert, thank you very much. I really appreciate you contacting me, coming aboard, and we're going to try to get this out there right away, because we want people really understanding what happened here. And, even the celebrities, a lot of people are jumping on them. Well, you voted for Gavin Newsom. Well, they voted for Newsom because they believed he could do the job. They didn't deserve to lose their homes and to be disrupted like this. I don't hold them accountable to that. But maybe it was a wake-up call for them too.
Well,
we got the right people.
You look at Larry Elder. I want to tell you, he clearly won. And I think we know who won on the last presidential election before. You have your Nancy Pelosi's, who's related. These ties go deep. Their fingers are deeply, deeply woven. And there has to be a change, or insanity is going to keep happening, exhibiting the same behavior over and over. We got to break the cycle.
Well, we got less than a week before there's a reset in this country. Let's hope and pray that things change. Albert, thank you very much. I really appreciate having you aboard. We'll get this out there. Thank you for educating the people a little further and clearing up any kind of misunderstanding that might be as to what really went on with fighting this fire, and the unpreparedness that our state and local government really displayed for all of us at this point. So God
Absolutely.
bless you. Appreciate it very much.
Be safe.
Be safe, you too.
Thank you.
Bye-bye now.
All right. Bye-bye.
My friends, I don't know, I don't know what to say at this point. I can tell you this, we cannot keep giving these politicians a pass. We just can't do it. Look at what this situation has evolved into. Like I said in the opening, 24 people dead at this point. It's probably going to rise. The death toll is going to rise. There are people that are still missing. They haven't been found yet. They're worrying about looters now going into these areas where the homes were burnt down, and these despicable people going in there and trying to pull out whatever they can, steal, in a situation like this. And we got the National Guard out there now protecting these things. The fires are still burning, and our politicians, they don't want to take any responsibility for it. Mayor Bass, not taking responsibility. She's shrugging it off. She's pulling the race card now. And people are protecting her, pulling the race card. That the only reason people are coming after her is because she's black. It's such nonsense. They're coming after her because she was incompetent. Really, that's the bottom line. She was incompetent. She didn't do her job. She lied to people. When she was campaigning, she said she would never leave the state or never leave the country. That's what she said. And she's left it 6 times. And what we found out recently, that the National Weather Service, they forecasted these horrible winds, and they said it could lead to bad fires. She knew this, and she took off to Ghana and Africa. For what? And that's on taxpayers' money, by the way. All 6 trips were on taxpayers' money. It's time that people start asking, where's our taxpayer dollars going? We want to see it before we okay it. We work hard for this. You can't be irresponsible. You can't just be spending our money and we're not knowing where it's going or not approving of it in some way. We have to know this. And our governor, just as bad, probably worse. And it puts to light a video that I saw where Donald Trump back in 2018 or 2019 was telling Newsom that he had to clear this dead brush out because it's terrible and it could higher the risk of these fires. And it's exactly what happened. The firefighters just told us that. It's exactly what happened. And that he cut $100 million off the firefighters' budget. But he put more money into DEI. He put more money into the homeless. And by the way, the homeless situation has only gotten worse. Where did these dollars go? He's buying a $9 million mansion when the fires are raging. Where are these dollars going? We need to know this because lives are at stake. And like this man repeated, DEI. You know, the most ridiculous thing we ever heard is one of the DEI firefighters said, you know, when we go in to rescue somebody, it's going to be relieving to them that we look like them. Really? Who cares about that? I don't care what the person is looking like when he's coming to rescue my children, my wife, even myself, my dog and cats. I don't care what they look like. I care that they have the ability to rescue us. That's what their job is. And this firefighter even brought out, when there's a DEI person there that's not qualified, that doesn't have the physical ability, hasn't been trained properly, it puts more strain on the firefighters who are capable because they have to carry the hoses. They have to do the heavy work because of this DEI nonsense initiative. It's destroying our military. Now it's destroying our communities through people that they're putting in positions to save lives that are not able to do it. What is going on here? People, we need to wise up. We need to throw these people out of office. They have to be held accountable. We need to do the work. We need to do the research. We need to know who we're putting in office. That's the bottom line. We can't allow this to happen anymore. And listen, we're 6 days away from Donald Trump taking taking the oath and becoming president. I get so riled up on this because I just can't believe this. This incompetence could be prevented. It's bad leadership. Democrat, Republican, Independent, it's bad leadership. The wrong people in the wrong positions. Bad leadership. We have to change it. We have to become alert. We have to become aware. That's it, because you know what? If we don't, we're going to have more illegal migrants come into this country, wreaking havoc on many communities. We're going to have more DEI hires put into positions that they're not qualified to be in. We're going to have less training for people that are qualified, and that will result in less preparedness for vital situations that we're in now with these fires. And it goes on and on and on. And in our military, we need a strong, capable military. We don't need black, white, red, green. We need capable people regardless of what ethnicity they are, what their religious background is. Who cares? We want people that are capable to do the job. Bottom line, it's time for a reset 6 days from now, people. And please, just keep these people that have been displaced, over 200,000 families displaced because of these fires, and it's still growing. They're not fully contained. They're still growing. We need to pray for these people and do what we can, you know, as a community to help them. That's all I have to say. How do I always leave you? Same way. Be blessed, people. I'm saying that first because I want you to be blessed. Be safe. Make it a priority to have our leaders do the job to keep us safe. That's the number one job they have in office. Keep us safe, protect our welfare, and let's hold them accountable, and let's put the right people in the position to be able to do that for all of us. Be safe, be healthy. You know what? I really do hope we get to the bottom of this whole COVID nonsense, because blood on their hands, a lot of people died. We don't want to see that ever again. Part of our health. We need to get our health in order. Be safe, be healthy. God bless each and every one of you. And yes, I'll see you next time. Take care.
All right, my friends, before I let you go, I want to say thanks again to MyHeritage for sponsoring this video. And don't forget to sign up by clicking the link in the description or scanning the QR code to get your 14-day free trial. It's an offer you shouldn't refuse.